hello. As always, thank you again for joining us for today's daily Bible reading. As always, I'm Khalil.
I'm Xavier.
Today, we'll be continuing our daily Bible reading with Deuteronomy 21. Do you want to talk more about what we read last time?
So we started at 15. We talked about, going back over the Levites and their position, how they don't have the inheritance, but they don't have an inheritance like unto the other tribes, but the Lord is their inheritance, and how they would have their certain cities and things of that nature. We also talked about judgment, so how each land would set up judges, and they would judge the matters, and if they didn't know the answer to a judgment, they would take it to the priest and the judges, and they would give the solution to things of that nature. And so we talked a lot about the priest and the judges. We also went back over things like the cities of refuge, and so really just continuing to teach this next generation how they are to conduct themselves as they enter over into the land, right? So that's just some of the stuff we want to look at. Mm-hmm.
Great. And peace, tender-eyed sister. And today, we'll just, like I said, get back into Deuteronomy. Before we really get to do that, we have to start today with our daily Proverbs. Since today is the 6th, we'll be doing Proverbs 6. So with that, all right. Want me to take it?
I got it.
You got it? All right,
yeah.
cool.
Proverbs chapter 6 and verse 1. My son, if thou be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with the stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, and thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself when thou art come into the hand of thy friend. So right here he's talking about really your relationship, right, with your friends, or really anybody, but here he's talking about your friends, and he's saying, like, if almost talking about, like he says, if thou hast stricken thy hands with the stranger, and thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, thou art taken with the words. So, like, you put this relationship in jeopardy almost due to maybe some of the things you have said or things of that nature. So he's saying, do this now, my son, and deliver thyself, or save yourself in this relationship by doing what? Go humble thyself and make sure thy friend. So basically, go apologize, humble yourself. You know what I'm saying, and for the humble yourself, sacrifice that pride, get rid of it, for the betterment of this relationship, right? And make sure thy friend. So go get your friend back almost. Like don't be too arrogant or proud to not ask for forgiveness or put your pride to the side, things of that nature. Verse 4, give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids. So it really is all going back to when the Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. Like, handle this now. Go humble yourself. Go make sure your friend. Verse 5, deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. So just go handle that business, right? Verse 6, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise. So now he's changing the conversation over to a sluggard, or to the lazy people. And he said, go to the ant, consider her ways, like watch and be wise. Verse 7, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep and a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an armed man. So he's saying, hey, look at this ant, sluggard, which having no guide over, like they don't have any bosses or anything like that, or God, right? But they still go out, get to work, and when you really look at them, like they're such small creatures. They do a lot of work just for verse 8, where it says, "Provided her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest." Like they go out, one might find some food. Now he got to go back to the land, get some more help. Like it's just they put in a lot of work. So he's saying, he's really telling you, hey, do what you got to do to learn how to work, even if it's looking at an ant, right? Because it's something that you need. It says, if you don't, so shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy wants as an armed man, right? And here, we're not poverty in this life really doesn't mean anything. What's really important is you working and putting the work in for God, right? We talked yesterday about, or the day before yesterday, about what was required of us, and it was like love God, love your brethren, keep the commandments of God, blah blah blah. The point is, it's work at the end of the day. It's requiring you to do some work, right? So if you are failing, if you're being a sluggard, being lazy, not putting the work in, hey, this poverty is going to come unto you like on that trailer. And it's not talking about poverty in the case of monetary money. It's talking about poverty in the eyes of God, meaning you're not storing up your treasures in heaven like you're supposed to. You're not putting that work in. It's almost like the talent, the parable of the talent, right? Where Jesus gave all his servants a talent, and one put the work in and made it 10 talents. Someone, I believe, made 5, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, someone made even 2, just made 1 more. I could be wrong on that, but point being, and then there was one person who hid it, put it underground and then when the Lord came back, all he had was that same 1 talent. And the Lord ended up taking his talent and giving it to the next person, and now he's mad at you because he's like, you didn't do nothing while I was gone. You didn't put in no work with this talent. Point being, that's the same situation that we can be in. The point is, he's telling us, hey, do what you got to do to learn how to work, because you need to put in work to serve God. It's not just all the way do nothing, right? But anyway, so he's saying, go to the ant and be wise. Like, learn how to put in that work, so that, like verses 11, so shall thy poverty come as one that travaileth, and thy want as an arm, and so that you don't become poor, and so that you don't have nothing, and that so that you don't, because you got to think about someone who, like Hezekiah, and this is more in this worldly sense, but it's a good point, where he was facing death, but he had stuff to say to the Lord, like, Lord, I have done everything that you said. I have kept your law, blah, blah, blah. And the Lord granted him, I forgot, a certain amount of years to stay alive. But the point is, he had them works backed up to tell the Lord and to give to the Lord. And that's the same type of mindset and the same type of things that we need to be able to say. Lord, I put the work into you. I've doubled your talents. I've quadrupled your talent that you gave me, right? And it requires that work. But verse 12, a naughty person, a wicked man walketh with a forward mouth. He winketh with his eyes, and he speaketh with his feet, and he teacheth with his fingers. Forwardness is in his heart. He deviseth mischief continually, and he soweth discord. So he's just talking about the qualities of a wicked person. Has a forward mouth. Forwardness is in his heart. He deviseth, and he soweth discord, right? Verse 15, therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly he shall be broken without remedy. Like, that time is going to come, that punishment is going to come, and there's not going to be no help for him, right? Because he spent his time being wicked. That can't be us. Verse 16, these 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yes, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, and heart that devises wicked imaginations, feet that be swift into running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. So right here we have like the 6 things that the Lord genuinely hates, and 7 are an abomination to him. And it's stuff like we've pretty much seen a lot of these already as we read from Genesis to where we're at in Deuteronomy. But like a proud look, the Lord hates pride. A lying tongue, God hates a liar. Even in the New Testament, Jesus says you are of your father, the devil. Like, the devil's the father of lies. He hates lying and hands that shed innocent blood. Which is also something we've been reading a lot about in the law in Deuteronomy, to where the Lord's like, hey, if you accidentally kill somebody, you have the city of refuge. But if you are a murderer, if you're shedding innocent blood, and you have to die, the Lord hates that, right? Feet that be swift into running to mischief. Just quick to go do some wrong. A false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. Just keep in mind that 3 of these are involving the tongue, right? So be mindful of your tongue and how you speak. he that sow discord among brethren, like you just, whether that be telling people business or just planting bad seeds, all that. Don't be one of those people. The Lord hates it, right? Verse 20, my son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. Bind them continually upon thine heart and tie them about thy neck. Like this needs to be in you. This needs to be, what does it say? It's not on me, it's in me. Like you can't take this off you. This needs to be who you are. Bind it upon thine heart. Keep it in your mind. Verse 22, when thou goest, it shall lead thee. And when thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. And when thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. Like verse 23, for the commandment is a lamp and the law is light. And the reproofs of instructions are the way of life. And to me, this is very important for us to understand and know. And we've talked about it before about the commandments and the law being this light or this God to get you into salvation, right? And some may say, hey, like without the law, we have no God. But some may say something like, hey, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, blah, blah, blah. And that's a fact. Like we need Jesus, but how do you get Jesus, right? What brings you? Like we see in 1 John 2 and 4 where it says, he that saith he know God and keep not the commandments is a liar and the truth is not in him. Point being, you can claim to have Jesus, but if you don't have it, nothing to back it up. For example, in like the book of Hebrews, when it says the law is the schoolmaster to teach you about Christ or to bring you to Christ, right? The laws was bring you to Christ. And then, like as we said, what does it say? In Exodus 20, where it says, showing mercy unto the thousands of them that keep the commandments. Like the grace of Jesus Christ and the mercy of Jesus Christ stem from, hey, are you doing what I say? Right? And then you go to like Revelations 22 and what is it? Verse 14 or maybe even 6, where it says, those that keep the commandments and obey, then you shall have the right to the tree of life, or the tree of life being Jesus. But the point is, you need the law. We cannot get rid of the law, or we cannot get rid of the light or the lamp, right? As Proverbs 6 and 23 calls it. Because it's the reproofs of instruction. Verse 23, for the commandment is a lamp and the law is light, and reproofs of instructions are the way of life. Verse 24, this is what the law and the commandment does. This is why you can't get rid of it. Verse 24, to keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. So it's there to protect you and keep you away from this evil woman. And then it says the flattery of the tongue. Like sometimes it can be enticing, the evil in this world and the appearance of it, meaning from outside looking in, it can appear to be a fun life, right? But the law of God and the words of God is going to tell you, hey, nah, that's not the right way, right? Verse 25, lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. So don't lust after this, because like we just said, hey, it can look good on the outside, right? But don't lust after her. Like Proverbs 37 says, envy not the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass. Like understand, the wickedness has an end, and the end is the lake of fire, right? We read in Deuteronomy where it says, well, I don't know if we read it yet, but we will. I'm pretty sure we have, where it says, I've set before thee this day life and death. Choose life, meaning in every decision we make, we have a choice. Are we going to serve God and choose life, or are we going to serve ourself, serve our flesh, serve Satan, and choose death, right? And that's what the end of the wickedness is, and this strange woman is death. So don't lust after her. Don't lust after the beauty. Don't lust after the things that they're doing, right? For verse 26, for by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread, and the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. So by means of a whorish woman, or the strange woman, or in other words, these false gods or wickedness as a whole, by that, a man is brought to a piece of bread, or a man is brought to nothing. And it makes me think of something like Ezekiel 18, where a man can be righteous all his life and turn into wickedness and start doing wickedness, and all the righteousness that he did is nothing anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like all that righteousness you did is forgotten because you ended up switching up and serving Satan. So, like, by the means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. You're brought to nothing, right? And the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. Verse 27, can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? So now he's asking a rhetorical question. Can you put hot coals and you not be burned? Or verse 28, can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burned? Point being, hey, you putting yourself in, like, you start lusting after the beauty, or you start looking after this strange woman, or these wicked people and these wicked acts. Eventually it's going to get to a point where, hey, you want to do it, or you do turn and do it, which is why he says, don't lust after them. And keep the commandments and the law. That way it can keep you away from this woman, right? Verse 29, so he that goeth into his neighbor's wife, whosoever toucheth her shall not be innocent. Men do not despise the thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry. But if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. But whoso committeth adultery with the woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. For jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though thou givest many gifts. Point being, this adultery, it's literal adultery, like don't sleep with another man's wife. But also, hey, you are the Lord's wife. Like when you enter into the covenant of God, being baptism, and you decide to give your life to God, you're going to do what God tells you to do. You have now became God's wife. Don't go after other gods and start committing adultery, right? He says, for jealousy is the rage of man. And we've read before that God is a jealous God. It even calls him a ball of raging fire or something like that. Like, he's a jealous God. He wants us, right? And so and then he says, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. Like, because you chose to go after this whorish woman or the wickedness in this world, because really that's the parallel. Like, that's the spiritual side of it. It's not a literal woman. It's just wickedness as a whole. Hey, the Lord will not spare in the day of vengeance. All right? And he won't regard any ransom. You can't give him anything to calm him down. No. Because you chose to turn from him and go serve other gods. Point being, the way to protect yourself from that is, like he said in verse 20, 21, 22, and 23. Hey, keep the law. Don't forsake the law. Keep the commandments. Study to show yourself approved. That way you don't fall for the trap of this strange woman or the enticingness of the wickedness of this world. Right? But that's Proverbs 6 right there. Mm-hmm. You got anything to add or say to that?
No, not really.
Me neither, so we can go to Deuteronomy chapter 21, right?
Yep. All right, 21. All right. Deuteronomy 21 and verse 1. If one be found slain in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it, lying in the field, and it be not known who hath slain him, then thy elders and thy judges shall come forth, and they shall measure unto the cities which are round about him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is next unto the slain man, even the elders of that city, shall take an heifer, which hath not been wrought with, and which hath not drawn in the yoke. And the elders of that city shall bring down the heifer into a rough valley, which is neither eared nor sown, and shall strike off the heifer's neck there in the valley. So, today we see this a lot more, right? But not every murder is caught in the act. Sometimes you just find a dead body, you don't know who killed it, what happened, stuff of that nature. So they need to have an ordinance for, like, okay, what do we do if someone just finds a dead body? And it's like, well, you find out which city, or like equivalent to that city, and here, which is closest, and then the people of that city, they'll get a heifer. Because remember, this is like the red heifer, and they're used for cleansing. Remember, we saw that a lot when they were cleansing the tabernacle, when they were cleansing Aaron and his sons to be the priests, so on and so forth. So they would all get a heifer, one that hath not been wrought with and hath not drawn in the yoke, which means it wasn't used to like carry like your carts, or wasn't used to till your ground. This was an ox or a heifer that has not worked. So it's used explicitly for the purpose of sacrifice, not for any literal like yard work like they would use the ox for back in the day. So that they'll take it and they'll kill it there in the valley. 5. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, for them the Lord thy God hath chosen to minister unto him, and to bless in the name of the Lord. And by their word shall every controversy and every stroke be tried. And all the others of that city that are next unto the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer that is beheaded in the valley. And they shall answer and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. Be merciful, O Lord, unto thy people Israel, whom thou hast redeemed, and lay not innocent blood unto the people of Israel's charge, and the blood shall be forgiven from them. So again, it's like a cleansing act. We're like, hey, this blood, you can even think of it as a like Potiphar. Not like Potiphar, where's my mind racing? The dude with Jesus, how he washed his hands and said, Pilate, yeah. He washed his hands and he said, hey, this blood is not on my hands. You guys do what you will. The same way, hey, none of us killed him. We aren't responsible for this death. Lord, don't hold it to our charge. Like, forgive us. 9. So shalt thou put away the guilt of innocent blood from among you, when thou shalt do that which is right in the sight of the Lord. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thine hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head, and pare her nails. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. After that thou shalt go in unto her, and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So, again, like this is right before the time where they're starting to enter the land of Canaan. They start doing like a large like takeover. So he's like, well, if there's like the daughters of the people that you would like to marry, right after you've taken taken the land, then yeah, you will bring her to your house. You'll have to shave her head or nails. Again, like shaving your head was a thing of like mourning, right? And that's why it even says like she shall mourn, bewail, which means to mourn her father and her mother a full month. Because again, remember they said all the peoples of these nations you're killing out, right? So like supposedly her father and mother are likely dead. And regardless, she's probably not going back to them anyway, because they've taken the land, right? But you have to wait that month of mourning, and then she could be your wife, and like you could be her husband. 14. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will. But thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. So there, we'll see this more as we read later. But like for whatever reason where like you didn't want to like stay with her, right? Let her go whither she will, but thou shalt not sell her for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her. So you've already made her to be your wife, right? But at this point now you don't want her to be your wife anymore. Well, you can't just sell her. You can't. You've humbled her. You've taken her. You've made her your wife. You can't just treat her as now like one of the strangers of the land, and one of like the same way they killed everyone else. You've married this woman. You can't just go back now because of whatever happened, and we'll see that more when we get a later chapter of Deuteronomy. It's not even talking about putting away divorce. You can't really put away for any reason, but still to the point that if you were to, you can't just treat her as a stranger or treat her as a servant or a slave or stuff of that nature. Now you've humbled her. She was your wife. You can't. 15. If a man have 2 wives, one beloved and another hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn be hers that was hated, then it shall be, when he maketh his sons to inherit that which he hath, that he may not make the son of the beloved firstborn before the son of the hated, which is indeed the firstborn. So this is a law, contrary to what popular belief, or what some people may say sometimes. There's no law in the Bible that makes having multiple wives a sin. Now, like Paul talked about, like if someone wants to be a bishop in the church or wants to be a deacon in the church, like he has a list of requirements, and one of them being is that they are like a husband with like one wife, right? A man with one wife, right? But in general, there is no, like, not anywhere here in the law or really anywhere else is there a law saying that a person cannot have more than one wife, which is why even we have this law here, because it's telling you, well, this is how you function if you were to have multiple wives. And then even, like, because remember, call back to Abraham, he had both Rachel and Hagar at the same time. And then you go back to Jacob, he had 4, right? He had Rachel and Leah and their handmaids, Bilhah and Zilpah. But point being, and you have multiple, David being an example. Moses, we know he was married to both an Ethiopian and a Midianite, Zipporah. So it's one of those things where it's just like, it wasn't a law, like, it's a thing of like, it's your choice, but the thing is, it's not a sin directly, right? Just doing it. But point being, what it's saying here is that, well, if you have 2 wives, do you like one? So just think of it like Jacob, right? Where he hated Leah, but he loved Rachel, right? But Leah had his firstborn son. She had Reuben. She had his first 4 kids, in fact, right? So just because Rachel later has Joseph, and he likes Joseph more, he can't just make Joseph his firstborn. He has to follow the law. This is your firstborn from the wife you hated, Reuben. And so he is your firstborn. So he has to get the right of the firstborn, with like being the inheritance. Mm-hmm. So you can't just switch things up because of, I like this wife, I don't like this one, right? 17. But you shall acknowledge the son that they hated for the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he hath, for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. Because remember, like, the Lord takes the firstborns or do like extra. And remember, even the Lord said, even going back like Exodus 12, Exodus 13, where he said, hey, your firstborn are mine. And like he was talking about Israel. Israel is my firstborn. And that's why in the last plague all the firstborn died. Because he said, well, you've taken my firstborn. So Pharaoh, I'm going to take your firstborn and all of Egypt's. So the Lord very much cares about this firstborn thing. But still to the point. Like he couldn't just do it any way he wanted. He had to honor that was the firstborn. 18. If a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which shall not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that, when they have chastened him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him, and bring him out unto the elders of his city, unto the gate of his place. So this is talking about, and there's no real specific age here, because sometimes people will also try to be like, well, you know, like, oh, they're too young, or they're like 8 years old, they can't be responsible for their behavior. Or even on the opposite end, very specifically here, and like what he's talking about is obeying the voice of your father and your mother, or honoring your father and mother, right? So sometimes people on the other end will be like, well, I'm 40 years old, I don't need to honor my father and mother anymore, I'm not a child. But again, there's no age here, it really goes both ways, right? There are plenty of examples in the Bible of the Lord killing children. Prime example being with Elisha, where 2 bears ate up like 42 kids. All only because they called him bald head. But they mocked him. And because of that, they were murdered by the Lord. So it's just one of those things where we may try to think of it as, well, like, no, surely the Lord won't do it. And the thing is, the Lord's merciful, so he may not. But it's not that he can't. It's not that there's any reason why he won't, other than his mercy, right? With all of us. But, so they have a rebellious son that won't listen, so you have to take him up before the elders, 20. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of the city shall stone him with stones that he die. So shalt thou put away evil from among you, and all Israel shall hear fear. So the punishment for this was death. It was stoning. Like it threw stones at him until he died. And that's why it's even important to remember, like, honor your father and mother. Sometimes we just shrug that off. But that is a direct commandment from the Lord. What people call the Ten Commandments, Exodus 20, it's the fourth one. And you can get into the New Testament, it says it's the only one with a promise, being long life. And we've already read a few verses here in Deuteronomy that, like, said that. Like honor your father and mother, like, so I can prolong your days on the earth. Like, it said that. So it's something very serious that we need to, like, listen to. 22. That if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of God, that thy land be not defiled, which the Lord thy God hath given thee for an inheritance. Sometimes they will kill some people, sometimes they'll kill them by hanging, sometimes they'll hang up their body afterwards. But to the point, they would, they couldn't have him hanging up all day, because it said, he that is hanged is accursed of God. And that's even, Saul. Saul, after he was killed, he was hung. And even they even call this back, referring to Jesus as well, referring how he was cursed for our sake, because he was hung on the cross. Not like he wasn't strangled, but he was literally hung on a tree. But yeah. Let's do Deuteronomy 21.
I don't really have anything to add to it except even a child is known by his doings. That's Proverbs. So like you said already, like, just because they're children doesn't mean they don't have rules to follow. Like, God still is holding them accountable, especially in a world like the building of Israel, because the parents was supposed to teach their children the law and teach their children about God and train them up in the way that they shall go. So if a parent is teaching them about God and they're just refusing for whatever reason to be obedient, hey, like, you know better. You should be doing better. Things of that nature, right? So say that to say there's no, oh, you're a child, you have room to sin, the Lord will forgive you. No, that's not how it works with God. The children would get killed too, just like every other sinner would, right?
Yeah.
And that also goes to show the serious, because you may look at that with like, oh, that's not fair to children. That's why it's your job to make, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's the parent's job. Like, it's a serious job to be a parent. It's a serious job to take on these children. It's now your responsibility to ensure that these children enter into heaven, right? And you can do that. Like, when the Bible says, train up a child in the way he shall go, and when he is old, he will not depart. And that is a fact. If you train him up in the word of God, and like we just read in Proverbs, where you bind the law on his neck and you bind the word to his heart, you essentially you can help him make it to the kingdom, right? So, but it just goes to show, like, children can die too. That's really the end of that. Mm-hmm.
I think there's another example of it besides the sheep bearers that I'm just blanking on right now. Yeah, I think it's the 1 Kings 22.
About the sheep bearers?
With the sheep bearers, 1 Kings 20, 1 Kings 22, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's all I got to say about 21.
All right then, chapter 22 and verse 1. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother. So you see, we're going into the laws on looking on to the things of others. Like Paul tells us to do, like charity. We're supposed to be charitable. We're supposed to be loving. We're supposed to look on to the things of others. And this is kind of showing us like opportunities to do that. So if you see your brother's ox or sheep just going astray, it's your job to bring it back to them again, right? Verse 2, and if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know him not, then thou shalt bring it unto thine own house, and it shall be with thee until thy brother seek after it. and thou shalt restore it to him again. So if it be too far, or you don't know where the person stays, you keep it. And you just keep it until the man comes to get it, right? Verse 3, in like manner shalt thou do with his ass, and so shalt thou do with his raiment, and with all lost thing of thy brothers, which he hath lost, and thou hast found, shalt thou do likewise. Thou mayest not hide thyself. So, no matter what it is, I liken it to you find $20 on the ground. Like, obviously you don't pick it up and take it, that's stealing, but even in this case, you shouldn't pick it up and take it and if they were to find the ass and then bring it home and make it theirs and stuff, you would be completely wrong. You just stole your brother's ox and ass. Like, you're supposed to keep it and make sure that you can give it back to him, right? Whether it be an animal, whether it be some clothes, no matter what it is, that's your job as your brother. That's your job to your brother. But verse 4, thou shalt not see thy brother's ass or his ox fall down by the way, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt surely help him to lift them up again. So you see the ox or the ass fall. Don't hide yourself. Don't pretend you didn't see it. No, go help that man. Lift up the animal again. Point being, just look out for it. You see something going on. Hey, look out. Help. Right? Verse 5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. So men don't wear women's clothes, women don't wear men's clothes. All this transgender, what do you call a man that wears dresses and stuff?
Drag?
Like all that, it's an abomination to God. He doesn't like it. He hates it. Don't do it. Verse 6. If a bird's nest chance to be before thee in the way in any tree, or on the ground, whether they be young ones or eggs, and the dam sitting upon the young, or upon the eggs, thou shalt not take the dam with the young, but thou shalt in any wise let the dam go, and take the young to thee, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest prolong thy days. When thou buildest a new house, then thou shalt make a battlement for thy roof, that thou bring not blood upon thine house, if any man fall from it. So, a battlement is like, it's almost like a gate, right? Like for lack of better words, you can look it up, you'll see pictures, but point is it's almost like a gate, almost. How would you describe it?
I mean, a gate probably is the most, realistic term I can think of.
Yeah, but point being, and the Lord told them to build that on the roof. Verse 9, thou shalt not sow thy vineyards with divers seeds, lest the fruit of thy seed which thou hast sown and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled. So, saying don't mingle your seeds. Like you put pumpkin seeds, apple tree seeds, broccoli, all this stuff in a bag and just dump them. Don't do that. Make it make sense. Make it uniform. Verse 10, thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together. Simply put as well, and the animals will be yoked together, right? So don't have an ox and an ass walking and plowing the land. That's not how it's supposed to work. Make it uniform. Verse 11, 2 oxes or 2 asses. Verse 11, thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of woolen and linen together. Point being, here, just like don't intermingle your seeds and things of that nature, is don't have, like Pete House says, woolen and linen. Those are 2 different types of material. You got one from animals and you got one from fabric. Don't mix the animals and the fabric together. It don't mean I can't have polyester with polyester. That's
like linen.
Linen, yeah.
It is. I mean, technically it's made from wool. It's linen.
Right. So that don't mean I can't mix them. It's like I can't have a cotton and a linen, or you know what I'm saying? Don't mix those 2. Verse 12, thou shalt make thee fringes upon the 4 quarters of thy vesture, wherewith thou coverest thyself. If any man take a wife and go in unto her, and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. So now he's saying he took this woman, made her his wife, and now he slept with her, and found out she's not a maid, or she's not a virgin, right? Verse 15, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the cities in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hateth her. And lo, he hath given occasion of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. So point being, he got this woman, married her. It turns out he hates the woman. So now he's trying to find any excuse to get out of this. So now he's claiming that, hey, she's not a virgin. And she wasn't a virgin when I got with her. And so he would take it to the elders of the city and things of that nature. And the father would bring this token. And it says, and they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. So now they have like this token or this assurance that no, she was a virgin when I gave her to you. You just hate her, don't want to be with her anymore. And so verse 18, it says, the elders of the city shall take that man and chastise him. So now they're punishing him for lying on this woman's name, right? Verse 19, and they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. So come to find out, she was a virgin. You lied. Now his father gets some money, and you still got to take her to be your wife, right? And you can't put her away. You just lied on this one. But verse 20. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, so if the case is true, and the woman really wasn't a virgin, verse 21, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of their father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her with the stones that she died, because she hath wrought folly in Israel to play the whore in her father's house. So shalt thou put an evil away from among you. So if it comes to find out this woman wasn't a virgin when she married this man and she lied about it, hey, now this woman, she is to be stoned. She has to die now, right? Verse 22, if a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then they shall both of them die. Both the man that lay with the woman and the woman, so shall they put away evil from Israel. So if a man is lying with another man's wife, both him and the woman are to die, right? And we could think of it, we could use that when Jesus, right, when they caught the woman in act with the man, quote unquote, saying she was committing adultery, and they brought her, but they didn't bring the man, right? No, they were both supposed to be stoned in this case, right? Verse 23, if a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out unto the gates of the city, and ye shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel because she cried not, being in the city, and the man because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you. So again, this woman is betrothed, or we could think of it like engaged or agreed upon, right, to be this man's wife. But another man come and sleep with her. Hey, they both got to die again, right? Verse 25. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her. So in this case, it's not they lied together. It's, hey, this man is forcing himself on her or raping this woman and lie with her. Then the man only that lay with her shall die. So in this case, only the man will die. He just raped this girl. Verse 26. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. Point is, she cried out. She didn't want this. She was raped. So now it wasn't her fault. Things of that nature. She's got to die. But if the woman don't cry, like if the woman just she's basically agreeing to the process, hey, she has to die too. Verse 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found. So now a man is sleeping with this woman that doesn't have a husband. Verse 29. Then the man that lay with her shall give unto his damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife. So now once you slept with this girl, now you got to pay the father some money and take her to be your wife. Because continuing in verse 29, because he hath humbled her, he may not put her away all his days. So because you slept with her and you already took that leap Now you got to backtrack, marry the woman, and then you can't put her away all your days. Verse 30. A man shall not take his father's wife nor discover his father's skirt. So again, hey, you can't sleep with your father's wife. Things of that nature. So that's chapter 22. Deuteronomy chapter 22.
Yeah. It's a good chapter. I think a good thing to note with like the verses from like 15 through like 21, like all that kind of bit, is that it's not even about the thing of her not being a virgin before she was married, because being honest, there are not many virgin people who get married nowadays. So it's not the thing of, oh, you weren't a virgin. Purely just the fact of what defiled the marriage was that she wasn't a virgin before they got married, but was the fact that he thought she was a virgin. She hid that she was. Because here's the thing, especially, we're going all the way back then. Nowadays, we live in a world where most people don't know the law. They don't know how things ought to be done with the Lord, and we just don't have any of that same infrastructure, right? But back then, a woman or a man couldn't just go around sleeping with people like that. Like you couldn't, because if you got caught doing it, either you had to get married, as you read here, or you got killed, right? So the fact that she is not a virgin, it's like, well, okay, then what happened? Because you cheated on me, you slept with someone else, and I was not informed about any of it. And then that is the issue. Because here's the thing is, it wasn't a thing of like where you couldn't get married to someone unless they were a virgin. Sometimes people try like manipulate scriptures like this for that reason. A great example of that not being the case is like Hosea. Hosea, if you don't know the book of Hosea, it literally starts out with the Lord commanding the prophet Hosea to go and marry a harlot, or a whore, a prostitute, in order to like represent how the Lord feels like Israel treats him in terms of like almost like a cheating wife, right? But literally the Lord commanded him to go marry a woman who very clearly wasn't a virgin, right? And that marriage was sacred. It was a marriage, right? So like that's just not the thing. So it's not the fact that she wasn't a virgin itself, but that she slept with someone that was sleeping around. He didn't know. He thought he was marrying a virgin, and now it's become an issue. That's why even as we read before in we saw the same law in Numbers, I believe it was. It talked about the man getting his dowry back, because essentially, I gave you this money thinking your daughter was a virgin, and she wasn't. So give me my money back. But yeah. Anything else you want to say? There's one more thing I wanted to say. Just about, I think, and then I thought about it a little bit more. I think maybe fence would be a better way to call battlement, or maybe even wall. Wall doesn't seem to fit, but just something so you don't fall over. Safety rails? Does that sound better? But
whatever. Just
something you don't fall.
Yeah.
But I was also talking about, it was like 9 through 11. So like vineyard with diverse seed that shall not plow ox and ass together. The 10 remind me of like being unequally yoked, right? We're just doing this. It's gonna probably kill the donkey, or it makes no sense to do that. Like all of these things that makes no in real world logic, it makes no sense to do any of these. Why? Like it's one of those things where the law of the Lord just makes sense, right? Like so 10 doesn't make sense. 9, there's a real thing in the world called like competitive competition between plants and ecology, and the whole point is when you put two like plants together, like with their seeds together, it's just gonna kill one of them. And the thing is, sometimes even one of those seeds dying where another seed's trying to grow can also kill the other seed. So that's something that happens in real life, and why you shouldn't do that. And then even with the leaven, thou shalt not wear a garment of diverse sorts, as of wool and linen. And that's not talking about, like you brought up, like woolen and linen, like plant matter and like animal matter. So you can think of it trying to make like a cotton leather vest, right? Or it's not a thing of like you have a coat, right, where you may have like a linen outlining and it's stuffed with wool, or the vice versa, where it's like I can't think of an animal material all of a sudden. It's like wool, but stuffed with cotton.
Leopard skin or something.
Leopard skin or something, right? But it's like stuffed with cotton or whatnot, and that's not what it's talking about there. It's really talking about making a new material because remember back then they would make everything individually, almost by thread, right? So mixing almost like this linen and this like woolen together to make this new thread, and really that's a thing. And again, in real life, and it doesn't work well because it just falls apart because there are two different materials that don't mix. Where it's just the same thing. And I only bring it up because really it makes sense in real life, but also reminds me of what communion does light have with darkness. Like an oil and water type of thing. Like just certain things just don't mix, and it's just kind of dumb to try and get them to. But yeah. That's all I've got to say about 22. Alright. Then I will go ahead to Deuteronomy 23. He that is wounded in his stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. So, wounded in his stones, that's talking about testicles, right? Very clearly. Privy member, we're all mature here, penis, that's what it's talking about. So like wounded in his stones, like they don't work, or he's got a cut off penis, right? He can't enter into the congregation of the Lord. I'm going to read two more and then we'll talk about that. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. So a bastard, like his parents weren't married when they conceived him, they will not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to so his lineage to the 10th generation will not enter into the congregation of the Lord. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. So, congregation of the Lord is, the exact meaning of it is, frankly, a bit unknown. And I will use just verse 2 explicitly to show this. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. So, right, paints it very clearly. A bastard cannot enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation, they can't enter into the congregation of the Lord. Right? So, let's pick a bastard for, sorry. I hate saying the word, but for lack of a better term. Let's pick one, and we'll just follow the lineage. We'll pick Perez. If you remember back in Genesis, Judah slept with his daughter-in-law Tamar. Well, he didn't know it was her, but he did. They were unmarried, and from them sleeping together this one time, she conceived a son, Perez. Perez, the son of Judah. And Perez had a great lineage. And that lineage was here in Deuteronomy. We've already read a bit about them directly in Numbers, and about how some of the princes came from this lineage, right? And so, congregation of the Lord, it can't mean them just being there amongst Israel, because Perez's children were amongst Israel. And at this point, it's been maybe 4 generations, right? But then if we were to take it even further, do you know who's within the the 9th, 10th generation of Perez? King David. King David was from this line of Perez, again, who was a bastard. But King David was the king of Israel. Literally the king. You can't get much higher than that, right? So, what does it mean? So, obviously, and the Lord chose David to be king anyway, right? So what does it mean for him to not be able to enter into shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Specifically, like I said, I don't know. But it's not I'm just pointing out that very clearly, it's not referring to someone can't be in the land. Or even like in David's example, can't hold any form of power or authority. Because clearly, that's what was happening. And also, like, that Moses is saying this to a bunch of people, a whole lineage that he knows, because remember, he wrote the book of Genesis, came from a bastard, Pharez. Because even after the fact happened, we never read that the two even got married. It just meant he never slept with her. Because that was his daughter-in-law. Right? So, to the point, like, just specifically, I don't know, it doesn't really explain, but it's just clearly not those two things. It doesn't mean that. But still, he says the Ammonites and Moabites can't enter the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. Verse 4, because they met you not with bread and with water in the way when he came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. Remember, that was King Balak back in Numbers, but that he's explained like this is the reason why. 5. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God will not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned a curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. So he's saying, well, don't just automatically treat these people poorly. The Edomites, remember, Edom comes from Esau, so Jacob, Israel's brother, right? So they're your brethren. The Egyptian, that was a stranger in his land. Even remembering, before the enslavement stuff, the Egyptians welcomed Israel. They treated them kindly. They gave them land. They gave them the land of Goshen. The enslavement and bad stuff only really started happening once the current Pharaoh died out and the new one took over, who didn't know Joseph and other things he did. Right? But still, that was a stranger in his land. 8. The children that regarded them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their 3rd generation. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chanceth him by night, then he shall go abroad out of the camp, he shall not come within the camp. But it shall be when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. And there was a split of, like, whoever was unclean, they had to stay without the camp. Because remember, the tabernacle is here. The tabernacle is the Lord's, meant to remain holy. And we can't have this uncleanness spread, otherwise we could compromise the tabernacle, or compromise a priest, or his holy things, or his altar, or anything like around it, which we can't do. We can't risk. So anyone who was unclean, they had to stay without until they were able to wash themselves with water and the sun's down. Because as we remember from like Levi, Leviticus, and Numbers, that's part of what would make them clean. 12. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon. And it shall be, when thou ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. So we say basically, we can think of it like just a porta potty, or I was trying to outhouse. That's what I was trying to remember. Think of it like an outhouse where, like, you basically on all your weapons you have a paddle, like a shovel, so you would dig, and you would dig a hole, and you would like do your business in the hole. You pee, poop, whatever, right? And then you cover back up your hole, right? And it's all for the same reason, like keeping things clean amongst the Lord. And we'll see that in 14. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee and to give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, there that he see no unclean thing in thee and turn away from thee. So again, all the purpose of this is to keep everything here clean and holy. Again, being unclean or anything of that sort has never been a sin, but it was just purely we're trying to keep everything here clean. So if you are unclean, we need you to move over there for a bit of time. 15. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. He shall dwell with thee even among you in that place which he shall choose in one of thy gates. Where it liketh him best, thou shalt not oppress him. So it's like saying like a servant's run away from his master. Like whatever the situation is, right? A servant's run away from his master, escape from the. He said, don't just give the man back. He's like, well, hey, keep him here, and like where, like in your, because remember these are all instructions for how they should behave in the land. Keep him in the land, right? Wherever he wants to dwell, let him dwell. Where it liketh him best, thou shalt not oppress him. Treat him well, right? Because that's one of the biggest things with the Lord. To like, it's our duty to help the oppressed. 17. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow, for even both are abomination unto the Lord thy God. Again, like no sodomites, no whores. And he says, thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord in the house of the Lord thy God for any vow, for even both are abomination to the Lord thy God. Because remember, for like vows, you have to like pay a price regarding what your vows were for. And he's like, well, don't do it for like a whore. Don't do it for. It's like that's not. Even as the Lord puts like as a dog returns to his own vomit, where it's like an abomination. Like dogs are dirty. The same way I literally just told you a few verses back. Like I want you to cover up your business so I don't have to see it lying on the ground anywhere. Like don't bring that dog into my house. It's gross. 19. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother. Usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land whither thou goest to possess it. Right? So here, usury means like interest or extra charge. So if you lend to your brother, don't do so with usury. So don't try to like charge him interest or whatever in order to like try and get more money back from like the interaction, right? And he says he's even said like a stranger you can charge like interest, but to your brother like you can't. But this is like one of those things that we even see gets further encapsulated in the New Testament of Christ. Where he says, well, hey, don't lend to someone, but lend without expecting anything in return. Like lend without ever asking for the payment back or expecting anything back in return. And that goes for everyone. Where that's almost like the point he's making here in a way too, where he's saying don't if you lend to someone, don't do usury to try and get more money out of it. That's not the point. You're lending to someone. The same way even with the don't oppress the servant, where you're trying to do good to others. So if you're lending to someone who needs it, charge them usury is only going to be to their own hurt. So you can't do it to your brethren. He even doesn't even say you should, but he allows you to be like, okay, you can do it to strangers, I guess, but you absolutely can't do it to your brethren. And again, we see that fully encapsulated in the New Testament, but really, well, Jesus even saying but really, you shouldn't be asking the money back anyway. You should just be willing just to give it to someone, and then that's the end of the interaction. And you're never asking for the money back, you're never trying to charge it, or any of that, right? 21. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it. For the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it would be sin in thee. So, playing good examples of this in the Bible, that whenever you make a vow to the Lord, remember, vow is pretty much anything you say. It doesn't have to be you saying, I vow this, and I vow that, and I promise. And no, it's just simply whatever you say you're going to do, right? You have to, thou shalt not slack to pay it, which means you don't hesitate. You don't take your time. You do it, right? Because once you've given that to the Lord, he will surely require it of thee. The Lord expects it now. And it would be sin in thee. Sin in the fact that you didn't do it, right? Sin to you if you don't do it. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. But just don't just say you're going to do it. Don't vow it. Don't just don't. There's no sin in you just not doing that. So just don't. That which is gone out of thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform, even a free will offering. So whatever you say you're going to do, you're bound to do that now. He calls it a free will offering because you said it of your own free will. You're now obligated to stick to your word. but you're never obligated to say what you did in the first place. So it'll be of your own free will, according as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat grapes, thy fill at thine own pleasure, but thou shalt not put any in thy vessel. When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor's standing corn. Or even he has here, because remember, the fields were a little communal. They remember on the outer coasts of the fields, they would have it that it was meant specifically for the poor and for the needy and for the fatherless widow, so on and so forth. And it was the same way if you're passing, because remember the fields are everywhere, right? So just you're walking somewhere, you're walking through someone's cornfield or their vineyard or whatever, and as you pass through, it's you can pluck out a few grapes and eat some, or corn if you're walking by and you just grab a thing of corn and you eat it. That's okay. But he's saying that thou shalt not put any in thy vessel, and thou shalt not move a sickle on thy neighbor's standing corn. But you're not just going to town in there. You don't have a jar where you're walking through the vineyard just grabbing clusters of grapes and putting them into the jar. And with the same with the corn, you're not just with a sickle cutting down giant corn stalks in order to take them home. It's no, I'm giving you permission to you're walking through here, you may grab a couple, but this is your neighbor's vineyard. This is his stuff. So, you can't just go in and start trying to take everything because I permitted you. It's the saying, you give an inch, they take a mile. I'm giving you an inch. You better not take a mile, is essentially what he's saying. But, chapter 23.
I don't have anything really to add to it. You broke it down pretty well.
Yeah, you do it.
Alright, well, chapter 24, and verse 1. When a man have taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it into her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. So this is talking about Moses, and we're gonna go read Jesus' take on this. But this is when Moses had entered into this or put out this bill of divorcement, right? And it's if a man have a wife and just it come to pass, like I said, she find no favor in his eyes because he had found some uncleanness. So it's you don't like her anymore for whatever reason, or like we kind of read in the past few chapters where you grow to hate this woman. Then Moses said, then let her write a bill of divorcement and give it into her hand and send her out of his house. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hates her and write her a bill of divorcement, so now your new husband hates you and writes a bill of divorcement and give it to her in hand and sendeth her out of his house, or if the latter husband died, which took her to be his wife, or if the new husband dies, her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife after that she is defiled. For that is an abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. So she can't go back to her old husband after she's already slept with the new husband. It's an abomination. Verse 5. And when a man have taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any businesses, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife which he hath taken. So, hey, you get a wife, you don't go to war for a year. You sit home, you relax, you chill, and enjoy your wife, right? But before we continue here, we left off at verse 5. I want to go to Matthew 19 because we're going to read Jesus' take on this divorce process that Moses brought, right? So Matthew chapter 19. And there's a reason I keep saying Moses brought this. That's because that's what Jesus said. Right, but we're going to read it. Matthew chapter 19 and verse 1. And it came to pass that when Jesus had finished these sayings, he departed from Galilee and came into the coast of Judea beyond Jordan. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came up unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? So the Pharisees come up and they're doing what they've been doing. They're trying to tempt the Lord. And they ask him a question. Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? Right? For any reason, in other words. Because we just read that Moses made this bill of divorcement because the man has no favor. She has no favor in his eyes anymore, meaning he doesn't like her anymore, or he hates her, right? So they're basically saying, hey, can a man put away his wife for any reason? Like just because he hates her or anything like that? Verse 4. And he answered and said unto him, so this is Jesus talking. Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? So he's taking them back to the literal beginning. Genesis chapter 3, I believe, right? And said, this verse 5, and said, For this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. So when you get married, you have become one. You are no more separate. You are no more two, but you have become one. What therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. So this is Jesus' answer. He said, they asked him, hey, can we divorce our wife for any reason or for every cause? His answer was, what God put together, let no man put asunder, or let no man separate. Essentially being, hey, you cannot divorce this woman, right? Verse 7. And then he's going to go into what caused Moses, right, to do that. Verse 7. They said unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? So the Pharisees understood that Jesus said no, right? Like you cannot put this woman away for every cause. So they're like, then why did Moses do it? In verse 8, he said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so. So, and if you even remember, like in times of Moses, hey, they were treating these women like crap because they didn't like them, right? So he's like, Moses, so Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, brought this up. But from the beginning, it was not so. Like it was never supposed to be. The men in that time were completely like being cruel, like to these women and things of that nature. But the point is, no, you can't divorce. Verse 9. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her which is put away, doth commit adultery. So now Jesus is saying, I say unto you, whosoever put away his wife, except for fornication, that's the only reason you can put away your wife, is if this woman fornicates, which means fornication is like a broad term for any sexual immorality. So it can stem anywhere from kissing another man to actually having sex with another man, right? It's any form of sexual immorality. So the only reason a man can put away his wife is if she commits fornication. So if a man verse 9. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. So if you put away your wife for no reason, if she didn't commit a fornication, you're wrong. You've sinned against the Lord, right? That is a sin. He's making it known here, like, and whoso marrieth her which is put away doth commit adultery. So if a woman has been put away and now you marry her, you committed adultery. Why? Because God doesn't even recognize that putting away. They're still one. Remember, that's what he said. What God hath put together, let no man put asunder. So unless this woman commits this fornication, they're still bound together. She's still bound to that man. That is still his wife at the end of the day. So if a man come in and sleep with her, you slept with another man's wife, whether they're together or not. And now you committed that adultery. So you've sinned against God. Point being, there is no divorce unless it be for fornication. Right? That's his answer. That was his answer. When they asked him, hey, can we put away our wife for any cause? His answer was no. The only reason you can put away a woman is because she commits fornication. Then you could put her away. Outside of that, you cannot put away this woman, right? And if you do, you're sinning against God. Verse 10, his disciples say unto him, if that's the case of the man, if the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. But he received, and then he gets to telling jokes, but not even really telling jokes, but you get what I'm saying. The point is, the answer was no. So I really just wanted to read that just so we can understand that, yeah, Moses instituted it for a time. And I can't really speak on whether he, you know what I'm saying, why he did it or anything like that. But we know that in the eyes of God it's wrong. Like, the eyes of God is wrong and it's sin to do so. Like, it's literally sin and it's punishable from death. We talked about what we read today about committing adultery, right? And how the jealousy of a man and what did it say? Therefore he will not hold back in the time of judgment or something like that. Yeah, for jealousy is the rage of a man, therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. Whoso committeth adultery with the woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. So you're literally killing yourself by committing this adultery, sleeping with another man's wife, or putting away your wife, even if she didn't commit adultery. I mean, even if she did commit fornication, right? So I just wanted to bring up, did you have anything on that, per se? Or a place that you wanted to go to? Maybe.
The Malachi 2.
That's where I was going to go. Yep. Go ahead, you can tell us.
I mean, it's fairly self-explanatory. It's one of those things where and they talk a lot about it, even in Corinthians, Romans as well, but just to the point that, like, it's the same as what we even talked about before with the usury, where, or even we talk about like Jesus talks a lot about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, where he says, yeah, like you've heard an eye for an eye and for a tooth for a tooth, but I say bless those that curse you, pray for those that despitefully use you, like all of that, where it's true, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But the point is that you guys should be a merciful people. You should also be merciful and loving and kind. Or in the same way, like, divorce, like, exists, right? Like, divorce is a thing, but the thing is, you can't just be getting divorced and doing that sort for any reason. Because the Lord loves marriage. Like, marriage is sacred to the Lord. So you can't just get divorced for any reason. It's just like the Lord, like I have like a way about that. But yeah. Alright, Malachi 2. What verse is it?
It's 16 is that, but
Alright, yeah. I'll just start at 13. And this have ye done again, covering the altar of the Lord, with tears, with weeping, with crying out, insomuch that ye regard not the offering any more, or receiveth it with good will at your hand. Yet ye say, wherefore? Like, so it's like the Lord is receiving our offerings, but he's like, so they're asking why? Like, that's what wherefore. So why isn't the Lord hearing us? Why is he taking our offerings? Because the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously. Yet is she thy companion and the wife of thy covenant. He said, because I've seen how you mistreated your wife, the wife of thy youth. She is thy companion, the wife of thy covenant. Because that's what marriage is. It's a covenant, right? And the same as like covenant, the Lord's covenant with us is meant to be one that's like everlasting. All covenants are really meant to be that way. So it's not meant to, Or like in this case, like marriage, they say until death do us part, right? It's meant to be that way. 15. And did not he make one? Yet had he the residue of the Spirit. And wherefore one? That ye might seek a godly seed. Therefore take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth. Again, like he's like, I made you guys to be righteous. I made you guys to be holy. So you guys need to not deal treacherously against the wife of your youth. For the Lord, the God of Israel, saith that he hateth putting away. Putting away is divorce. That's just another word for it. For one covereth violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore take heed to your spirit, that ye deal not treacherously. Like, the Lord hates divorce. I don't know how else to put it. He hates putting away. Like, it's just not something, like, even like Moses gave it for a time because of your own, hard-heartedness or your stiff-neckedness. But it's not something that the Lord just likes, right? Even there, the Lord, like, you can get divorced for, like, reason of, like, fornication, right? Even there, like, you'll see at times where the Lord's like, but, like, you don't have to, though. He doesn't say you have to, or this is what you're supposed to do. It's like, but you can. Like, I'm giving you the leeway to do it for that case. But even then, the Lord still hates it. The Lord doesn't like it. He understands that, like, your wife cheats on you. You probably don't want to stay with her. And I'll give you the leeway that you don't have to. Yeah. But I don't like divorce. The things I put together, I like to keep together. Right? Like, even remembering back to Genesis, where it talks about, like, and so like, a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Like, that's how things are supposed to work, right? And so the Lord doesn't like trying to break that up or trying to separate it. And there are even, let me see if I can remember it. Just to the point that the wife, even when being divorced, really can't just get married however she just wants afterwards. 1 Corinthians 7, this is just 39. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth, but if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord. Where I just went through that quickly, but there is a lot, especially in Corinthians, talking about that. But to the point, like, she was still bound to her first husband, like, as long as she lived. So you have to wait until that first husband died before she really could go get married again. I mean, maybe I should look at 10 and 11 too. I think that's where it is. That is 39. Yeah. And then just like 10 and 11, just to repeat the same thing. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband. Like, the Lord doesn't like the divorce. But, and if she depart, because the thing is, it's one of those things where I don't like you doing it, I don't want you to do it, but it's the same as any other law. You can still do it. Like, and not that like I'm permitting it, but you physically can just disobey me and break the law, right? So in the same way, it says, but if she does, but if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away the wife. But if she does, then, like, she just needs to remain unmarried. She can't just go and just get married to, like, someone else. Or, like, until at least the husband dies, we saw in 39. And, yeah. Or be reconciled to her husband, or she gets back with the first dude. So, it's definitely one of those things that's, like, it is that serious for the Lord.
But back to Deuteronomy 24. Point being, Moses instituted it for a time due to our terribleness, hard-headed selves. But in the eyes of God, it's not good. He hates it. So long story short, don't divorce your wife unless she commits fornication. And even if she does, like, think about the time you committed you committed fornication or committed adultery against God. Did you want him to depart from you? That's just something to think about, you know. But anyway, we're picking back up at chapter 6, verse 24 and verse 6. No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge, for he taketh the man's life to pledge. Point this pledge that it's talking about, we can use Judah and Tamar as an example, right? It's like in a proof of agreement, we can call it that. Like, basically, I'm gonna give you that. Like when we use Judah and Tamar, Judah and Tamar had came to an agreement, and then Tamar asked, "What will be your pledge?" And then he gave her, what was it, a bracelet?
Staff and bracelet.
A staff and bracelet as like the proof of their agreement, right? And then we see at the end, she was about to die, but then she pulled out that pledge and it proved herself or whatever. But point being, that's what the pledge is. It's like a proof of an agreement. It could be anything like you hold on to these clothes until the agreement be done or something along those lines, but it's just that. Verse 7, if a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel and making merchandise of him or selling him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put away evil from among you. So I look at like a situation like Joseph, and like they was completely wrong, selling that man and things of that nature. Verse 8, take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently and do according to all that the priest, the Levites shall teach you, as I commanded them, so you shall observe to do. So if you remember, or you were with us, I believe it was in the book of Leviticus when we was really deep diving into this leprosy. Sometimes it could be like a week-long process to find out if you have leprosy, right? So he's saying here, take heed and observe diligently, like pay attention to it and do everything that the priests tell you. As I commanded them, so you shall observe to do that way. You could be handled accordingly, right? Verse 9, remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam by the way, after ye were come forth out of Egypt. When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with this pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, I mean that he may sleep in his own raiment and bless thee. And it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not oppress and hire a servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or the stranger that are in thy land within thy gates. So here he's saying, don't oppress the hired servant or the poor or the needy, right? Whether he be your brother or stranger or anybody, don't oppress them. Like, God has never permitted us to be mean, ugly to anybody, but especially the poor, to the fatherless, the widows, the ones really who in essence can't really protect themselves. Like, God don't like bullying. He don't like being mean, period, but he definitely don't like why is you bullying the poor? You know what I'm saying? Help them. Like, that's what you should be doing, right? So he's saying don't do that there. Verse 15. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. So when it's and at his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon him, for he is poor. So basically, give him his money, right? Don't let the sun go down, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. Because if this poor man start crying out to the Lord, hey, the Lord gonna bring that sin. That sin is charged to you, right? All following the same mindset, which is looking after the poor and loving the poor, right? Verse 16, the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sins. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the strangers, nor of the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. But thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee thence. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. So he's just saying, keep that same mindset, like you was just a bondman. You was just a slave in Egypt, and the Lord redeemed thee. Like, just really saying again, hey, you're really supposed to still be a slave. And if it was really like that, your whole nation would, because remember that was Egypt's goal, was to wipe out your whole nation, all the men in your land, to wipe them out. So point being, it wasn't you who did anything about it. God did it for you. So remember that and show that same love that God had to you unto these people, to these bonds, to these poor. Right? Verse 19. When thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hand. Verse 20, when thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the strangers, for the fatherless, and for the widows. Point being, you leave, like, you're taking care of the poor, right? For the fatherless, widows, the strangers. Leaving some for them as well. Verse 22, and thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, therefore I command thee to do this thing. So again, just remember, you was in their position, like not too long ago, over 40 years ago, right? You was just like them. So don't forget that. Basically show love to them. Take care of them. Look out for them. Look out for each other. Right? But that's chapter 24.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all the marriage stuff aside, I think this chapter has a few other good things to like remember. Like 16 is like a call back, call back, but I guess call forward to Ezekiel 18 and like all the stuff in there. It's just all about how the same thing where everyone's own sin is on them, and that even goes back to the kids again, where even a child is known by his doings. Right? The whole point is that the kid will be judged according to what the kid did, not to anything else. Right? Because here's the thing. It's not even, you don't even think of it as black and white as, like, the kid's, like the kid lied and he's going to go to the lake of fire or something. That's what, like, obviously the Lord's merciful and we are not the judge and we don't know. And that goes for kids and everyone else, right? Ourselves included, right? Which is why it's so important we all do our best to actually keep the commandments. But point being is that you know a good kid, you can tell a good kid from a bad kid. You can tell a bad kid from they don't want to listen to anyone. They're throwing tantrums. They can't sit down. Like, no, I mean, like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. So you can tell the difference between a bad kid and a good kid just looking at it. And if we can tell the difference right now, you think God can't? Even if we're just to move the law to the side, you think God can't tell? No, God can tell. Right? But then the word on top of that, everyone is judged according to what they know. Right? So again, that goes for all ages. Right? Or of course, the kid doesn't know or doesn't understand this. Sure, that's one thing. But here's the thing, you're a parent, right? So you tell your kid to sit down, it's the Sabbath, not to do anything. Even if they don't understand, they should still be capable of listening to you. Right? Right? Samuel's a great example of that, where it says, it basically says he did not yet have understanding, but he was ministered before the Lord. Where he was doing what Eli was telling him to do, and how to do it, but he had no understanding of really what he was doing. Yeah. Or even, probably he didn't really understand why either. But he did it, because he listened. So it's like all of that in the same way. You're just going back to the kid stuff. But, yeah. Then even the stuff on the sides, meant for the strange and fatherless will. Right, and that's what's so sad, because in today's society, that's like forgotten. Especially with like stuff like Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, EBT, getting cut so frequently nowadays, and people almost rejoicing about it. is our job to take care of one another. And that especially goes for those who are oppressed and those who are in need. And, yeah, things of that nature. But, yeah, that's all I got to say about 24. 25 to stop?
It is fine.
Okay, cool. Deuteronomy 25 and verse 1. If there be a controversy between men, and they come with a judgment, that the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. Right? It's simple enough. If two people have an issue, which means what a controversy means, like there's an issue between me and you, then we'll go to the judges and they decide, and they justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. Right? And it shall be, if the wicked be worthy to be beaten, that a judge shall cause him to lie down and to be beaten before his face according to his fault by a certain number. So, if they find the wicked to be at fault, they beat him. But only a certain amount. 3, 40 stripes he may give him and not exceed, lest if he should exceed and beat him above these with many stripes, then thy brother should seem vile unto thee. So, the max stripes they could beat him, the one who's deemed wicked in the matter, was 40, right? And he says don't beat him above this, because the brother should seem vile unto him. Meaning just that, you beat him too much, it's now there's a separate issue between the two now, because I got beat him more than I should have, right? Which is why even Paul, if you'll know, Acts 25, 26, 27, when he's going through all the things he's had to suffer before the Lord, he said 3 times I was beat 41 times. And that's a reference to this, where the max they really were supposed to beat me 40, but they beat me 41. Not even really saying they literally beat me 41 times, or it gave me 41 stripes, as he puts it. But it's just saying they beat me more than they even had leeway to do in judgment. They did judgments against me falsely. I wasn't wicked, but they deemed me wicked. But even in that, they only should have beat me 40 times, but they beat me more. All to the point of just how much I've had to suffer. But still, that's how the judgment process worked. Verse 4, thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die, and have no child, the wife of the dead shall not marry without unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her, and take her and him to him to wife, and perform the duty of an husband's brother. And it shall be that the firstborn which he beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother, which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. Going back to Judah and Tamar, if you remember the story in Genesis, which of course predates this, but that's what happened, where his son was married, one of his sons was married to Tamar. He was wicked, so the Lord killed him. And then he had his brothers fulfill the duty. So one brother married her and went into her, but he didn't fulfill his duty in that he had sex with her, but he pulled out and ejaculated on the floor or something of the sort. As they put, spilled his seed or something of the sort, because he didn't want to fulfill the duty. Because the whole point is the dude has died, so his lineage would die out because he had no kids. So the brother would marry the wife, and then they would have a kid together. But that kid would be considered his brother or the dead husband's kid to continue on his lineage, right? He didn't want to do it, so he got killed. But to the point, we've seen this in effect already, even though we hadn't seen quite the law laid out here like this. And we could even see something of the sort in Ruth, where when Ruth wanted to get married to Boaz, they had to make sure there was a nearer kinsman to her than Boaz, and there was, and he ended up saying, "Oh, I don't want to fulfill the duty." Because that's the thing, you could just reject doing this. It was a thing of if you didn't want to do it, you didn't have to. But then you would reject all of your brother's inheritance and you would reject all of those things together. 7. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, again, you can say no, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuseth to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel, he will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. The elders of the city shall call him and speak unto him, and if he stand to it, and say, I'd like not to take her. Then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house. As we can kind of see this in root 2. Granted, not the spitting, but we see the dude take off his shoe as a sign, like, hey, I'm not going to do this. 10. His name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoe loose. When men strive together one with another, and the wife of the one draweth near for to deliver her husband out of the hand of him that smiteth him, and put forth her hand, and taketh him by the secrets. So if two men are fighting, and one of their wives comes and takes him by the secrets, again, like his balls, his penis, right? Then thou shalt cut off her hand, thine eye shall not pay her. So the punishment was, she got her hand cut off. Like, she shouldn't have done that. 13. Thou shalt not have in thy bag diverse weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thy house diverse measures, a great and a small. Because remember, this going to judgment, they would use weights to judge everything. So your weights had to be equal, and so did your balances, or your measures. Because that's what measures means, a balance. Because basically, that was an old-timey way that they would scam people. So you can't be a scammer, you have to be honest. 15. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight. A perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteously, are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. So basically, the Lord, I hate scammers. I hate people who lie and manipulate in order to get more. Because remember, the love of money is the root of all evil. And that's what you'll do for the love of money, right? Like we have more than a few scammers today. Right? 17. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way, when ye were come forth out of Egypt. How he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou was faint and weary, and he feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for inheritance possesseth, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. And this happens in 1 Samuel with Saul. Saul was commanded to kill pretty much all the Amalekites out of the land because we see because of this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is chapter 25. Yes, anything to say about it?
The only thing I got to say is in verse 12 where it tells you about to be grasped by the secrets, and you shall cut off her hand, thine eye shall not pity her. One thing that interests me about God is his punishments. His punishments be like that. To us it may be dang, that's kind of messed. That's kind of cruel because she grabbed him right there. Now her whole life, she had to live the rest of her life with no hand. The point is, don't do it. Right? Yeah. That's really the point. Even when you look at a situation I'm gonna burn because I eat pork. To the unlearned, that sounds crazy. But the point is, God told you don't do it. Simply don't do it. Yeah. And it doesn't say it here, but in previous times in Deuteronomy, he'll have a punishment like that. And then he'll say, so that the rest of the nation will fear and be obedient. So it's we're making an example out of you so that the rest of the world don't do it. Right? And that's important. Without the fear or without the punishment. That's why at the beginning of Proverbs, when he said to know discretion, to know wisdom, the first thing he said was the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. First you got to have that fear. Then you start to get some, some act right and some knowledge to you. So, but that is kind of crazy though. You get your whole hand cut off. Anyways, that's it though. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Fair. But yeah. Is there a place you want to go to for the end?
Not really.
Alright, we just go to. Ironically, I don't think we. Have we read the 2 Timothy 3? And wow, I don't think we have. Ironically,
I'm pretty sure we. I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I did 2 Timothy 2 a while back.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do 3. I really don't remember doing 3.
That's alright. But it is safe.
I'll do 12 and 12 through 17. Yea, and all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. Sometimes we can forget that this is honestly how it kind of works with God, right? The Lord will bless us. The Lord will increase us, right? And really, at the end of the day, our reward is going to be at the latter end. This life is going to be filled with a lot of trials and what sometimes may even feel like punishment and persecution, simply because we do serve God. Yeah, yea, all that will live godly in Christ shall suffer persecution. That's just how it's always been, really how it always will be until the Lord returns, right? But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving, being deceived. And we see that now. The world only gets worse literally every single day. Like literally every day, sometimes it feels like you can see how the world gets worse. As Christ even puts it, the love of man will wax cold. I feel like you can see that more almost every day. And you'll see more deception and more people being deceived. Even the people who are the deceivers being deceived. Right? 14. But it's always important to remember this. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them. But the things that we have learned, the things of this Bible, right? We need to remain in them, continue in them, because to those that endure until the end, as Revelation puts it, right? Learned, it has been assured, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, and that from a child thou hast known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through the faith which is in Christ Jesus. So these Scriptures, we need to continue with them, right? And continue in what they teach us, right? Because they make us wise unto salvation through the faith of Jesus Christ. So through the faith in Christ. We see Christ, again, from Genesis all the way to Revelation. Through that faith in Him and the knowledge and the wisdom of His Holy Scriptures, we can get salvation. 16. All Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. All Scripture is good for that, from Genesis again to Revelation. And that's even sometimes when people say, like, you get to stuff like Kings or Samuel or Isaiah or Jeremiah, where it's not sometimes all of it is what people would call law. And not all of it is sometimes none of it is like the New Testament, right? People are like, well, why is that important to read? And so, no, a lot of it's either examples or it's showing you a greater depth of who God is. And it gives you all of this. It gives you the doctrine of what the Lord wants and how things work. It gives you reproof and correction because you see the law in all of it, and you see where disobeying the Lord gets you in all of it. And for instruction in righteousness, it shows you the right way to go. A lot of times, by showing you the wrong way to go, where that ends up being. 17. That the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. Because that's what the Word of God does. That's what this Bible does. It converts your soul. It converts your mind to the mind of Christ. And like he says, it works to make the man of God, being you, a man or woman, right? Works to make you perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. But yeah, that's all I want to read. Was there one you wanted to look at? No?
Yeah. And for two reasons. Because like what you just read, where it says it's able to make you wise unto salvation through the grace of God, which means, hey, this word, like when the Bible says, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. Mm-hmm. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. Making wise the simple. The point is, the words of God, the law of God, like he just read, makes you wise. Like you can go from simple or dumb and be wise through the word of God and through the law, right? So I'm at Romans 12. Verse 1, and it says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So the first thing he's telling us is, hey, we need to present ourselves a living sacrifice. What does that mean? Hey, we're sacrificing ourselves daily. We're sacrificing the things that we want to do, and we're sacrificing the pleasure of our flesh to serve God, right? We're becoming a living sacrifice, giving up everything that we want to do that isn't in the eyes of God deemed right, okay? Holy and acceptable unto God. And then it says, which is your reasonable service. Like, this is a very reasonable and makes sense task that God gives us, right? God bared our sins and died with it. Like, even when you talk about how you read, every man that served Christ must suffer persecution, like what you just read, Jesus himself said, the servant is not greater than the master. Like, he suffered and went through it. We're going to suffer too. But the difference between us and God is he didn't deserve it. We deserved it. We deserve to suffer things of that nature. So point being, the fact that we have a chance at eternal life, and the fact that God came down here and humbled himself into the fashion of a man and died for our sins, hey, it is very reasonable of him to ask us to give up some of the things that we want to do and serve him, right? Verse 2, and be not conformed to this world. So don't conform, don't be in agreement with this world and the wickedness thereof, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. So there has to be a transformation in you from the ways of the world to the ways of God. And I really want to come here just to show, like, you must make this transformation. And this transformation is done by, like he read, the Holy Scriptures, right? That's what's able to make you wise. That's where that transformation comes from. So when you read in that Psalms 19 where it says, the testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple, and the law of the Lord is perfect, doing what? Converting the soul, or changing the soul, that's that transformation process. But it stimulates from the scriptures, the words of God, the laws of God. It will never change from that. We can't get away with that, right? But starting at verse 2 again. And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good, what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So point is, there has to be transformation in every single one of us. From the ways of this world and from the sins of this world to a servant of God and a son of God. And it all stimulates from binding the word upon thy neck and binding the law upon thine heart, like we read today in Proverbs 6. But outside of that, that's all I got.
Yeah. Cool. And with that, we are finished for today. As always, I thank you all for joining us. Lord willing, we will see you. It's Friday, so Lord willing, see you Sunday, and we'll continue with Deuteronomy 26. Which, I mean, we would probably finish Deuteronomy Sunday, if not Monday.
Sure.
But yeah, so with that, I guess we'll be starting Joshua soon. But yeah. Anyway, thank you again for joining us.
Peace.
Peace.